What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. Here on a Monday night, the Blazers lose their fourth and final preseason game to the Phoenix Suns, 117-106. This was quite an interesting game. The Blazers turn over the ball 24 times. The Suns turn over the ball 23 times. Lots of free throws in this game as well. Just basically as preseason as it can get. Luckily, the preseason is over, and the Blazers now look ahead to October 25th, which is in only 9 days for their first regular season game, where hopefully they will have their full complement of players. But we're going to recap this preseason game and maybe the preseason a little bit as a whole. Eric, how's your night going, bro?
Oh, not too bad. If I'm acting a little weird, my dad passed away last Thursday night. I found out about it on Friday, so a little bit of a weird time for me. So if I'm acting strange, it's because of that. I'm not like trying to act that way, but yeah, just thought I'd get that out of the way right now. But
yeah, my condolences to you and your family.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll probably keep the stream a little bit shorter too. I got some things to tend to tonight, and looking forward to kind of recapping this. And talking about just specific players and that sort of thing is what we're going to get into. Where do you want to start with this thing? I'll kind of like let you start off with kind of who you want to talk about, who you want to get into first. You weren't here for the last post-game show.
Yeah.
So, you can talk about themes from the last two games if you want. Just basically wherever you want to go with it.
Well, there was a good question in our game thread in Discord by Andrew Bohm. Has Chauncey won a preseason game against an NBA team?
I'm not sure. We were winless last year, right? And then, except when we beat Maccabi Haifa.
Yeah.
And then the year before. Yeah, a preseason just sucks. Like,
I'm pretty sure we don't have a good preseason record.
I dread preseason, dude, because it's just... Even last year, we started off the season hot, but even in the preseason last year, we were just awful, man. And I don't know what the reason is. Like, this team, obviously, I don't have high expectations for, but yeah, this is 3 years running.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, too. Like, they have a lot of new players. They have this weird gap this year between the last preseason game and the first regular season game, 9 days. And it's just weird that they wouldn't play more of their starters together to try to get a feel for, like, Robert Williams hasn't played at all.
Yeah.
Wondering if his injury is maybe going to cost him some regular season minutes. Hopefully not. But, and then, yeah, just the overall feel of the team is just, I don't know. It's just, I would have thought that this would have been a nice dress rehearsal time to get like everyone kind of on the same page, since they haven't all played since the first game. But I guess not.
Yeah, very strange in that regard, man. Ayton doesn't play the last two games of preseason. This team just... Go ahead.
I was just say, why did they have... You saw that interview with him today?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure you.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna play after watching that interview.
Yeah, like what's the point of having him there and interviewing before the game if that was the case, man?
I don't know, man. This this team, I don't have expectations going into the season, but I can't say I'm not a little bit more down on the team going into the season. Like, I'm trying not to be, but this team just looks very, very young, I mean, they are, so that's why you should kind of expect some growing pains. But, dude, this game specifically, just so undisciplined. 28 fouls and 24 turnovers. Like, I know we didn't play starters. Like, I know we were at a talent deficit and it's preseason, right? So, like, all that context needs to be heavily considered. But even when heavily considering that context, you want the offense to at least look like it's rounding a little bit into form with running some things and just taking care of the ball at least. Because turnovers was a major issue even when we were winning games to start last season, right? Like, 24 turnovers in this game, and it like Scoot has 5 of them. I expect him to be turnover prone, but he was at the start of this game, he was throwing the ball to people that just like weren't even where he was throwing the ball. Weren't even there. Skylar Mays 4 turnovers, Repair 3 turnovers, Chris Murray 2, Sharp 2, Ree 3. Like, some of these guys aren't going to play right away, but it just looked like this team had no chemistry and had no idea how to play together. And then a lot of it was just like sloppiness with the ball, and an outlet pass goes out of bounds, and it was just real rough.
Yeah. The thing to me is like, well, Cronin himself said he's not your average 19-year-old in terms of Scoot, right? And same with the other, with Chris too. They made it seem like he was a veteran and stuff like that. And now all the messaging is, oh, you can't. They even brought that Tom Haberstroh on during the game to talk about, okay, so like here's what all these other point guards did in their first games or their first seasons, and he talked about all these point guards who were horrible their first season or whatever. Didn't mention good players in their first season like Dame, you know. But yeah, it's kind of weird how at the draft they made it sound like, oh, Scoot's the most talented player we could put alongside Dame. Like we're increasing our talent level, and now it's like, oh, you guys have to be patient with him. Like don't get expectations after us two specifically being told all summer how we should be super excited about Scoot right away, basically.
Yeah, it's just more mixed messaging in the line of mixed messaging. There's a reason why we didn't take those comments seriously, and it was kind of frustrating to see us go from, yeah, we need to get older and we need to get bigger to, oh no, it's not about being bigger, it's about having good players, and Scoot's not your normal 19-year-old, right? Well, now the messaging is back to what it should be, because that should never be the messaging. Scoot isn't your normal 19-year-old. He's a freaking 19-year-old. He's an NBA rookie. I don't care that he played 2 years in the G League. It's the G League. And last year, it's not like he was the G League MVP and lit the G League on fire. It's not like he was Luka level good when Luka was playing overseas the year before he came to the NBA, where Luka was like Euro Cup MVP and all that. EuroLeague MVP. Or Wemby even. Like, Wemby was in a second-tier overseas league, but still a decent league, and he was dominating, right? So that's the thing with Scoot, is like he was pretty inefficient last year and had some turnover issues, and that's literally tonight's game. You saw that to the fullest extent. 5 turnovers, 3 for 11 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. Didn't really look to shoot the 3-point shot, and there's going to be some growing pains. It should have never been like, oh, this is the best, this is the best we can do with Dame. Like, doesn't matter. He's not a normal 19-year-old. All the messaging around Scoot Henderson and around the roster construction as it relates to Dame was all just false to me, and all just fake to me, and all just, as people would say, GM talk to me, because there's no realistic way that even Joe Cronin could have gone into the season like, yeah, Scoot, Sharp, and Dame will work. We talked about how the roster construction with 4 guards like that and the way it was built didn't make sense to keep Dame. It was never built to keep Dame, because there's just going to be some growing pains. And like, Sharp's had a couple good performances, but I still think people need to be a little bit more patient with him compared to some of the hype he got before preseason, and he might not even start games. We still don't know if Thibault's going to start over him, so going to be growing pains with this team, and that's what I expected. It's just, yeah, as you said, the messaging was a little too confident, and it's funny how it's already switched up now that Dame's gone.
Yeah, and I do think with Sharp, I still think you mentioned the 4 guards, I still think Brogdon's going to mess with Sharp's development and Dybul to a lesser extent. It's just having that many guards that get minutes. You saw the last, because Brogdon played the first 2 preseason games, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't play the second 2. I don't think it's a coincidence that Sharp looked a lot better when he didn't have tonight, Dybul and Brogdon, and last game Brogdon coming in and him wondering how many minutes he's going to play and stuff. He played a ton and was, one of the focal points on the offense. And that's when he's shown he thrives. And it's been the times where there's all kinds of guards on the court and he barely sees the ball for large periods of time that he kind of gets lost and looks kind of aloof out on the floor.
I will say this, Sharp has to do a better job of attacking closeouts, because that's the thing, when you got guys that can create next to you, they will give you opportunities to attack closeouts, and I want to see Sharp really get into the paint attacking closeouts. He got going last game running some pick and roll and snaking it, shooting mid-range shots. He had 1 or 2 of those today as well, and when he really took off last season, when he was getting a bunch of responsibility, he was basically the de facto point guard in a way and was running a lot of pick and roll and was getting going that way. I do think there is room for growth with him off the ball, even though he is pretty good for his age off the ball because he's so athletic, so he can catch lobs, and he gets a dump off in the paint in this game and dunks like a big man, basically just 2-step, rises through multiple people and dunks it. So, but that's the thing with Sharp is the potential both on and off the ball. I still think that with a guy like Brogdon playing next to him, he needs to not float and not be passive when he does get the ball, because that's what I've kind of felt from him. And even in this preseason is he'll have a tendency to kind of float offensively and not cut when it's there. There's times early last season I thought he was cutting a ton in preseason and early last season. I felt as the season went on, that kind of dried up a little bit. And then this preseason, how many times did Sharp cut to the rim? It felt like when he didn't have the ball in his hands, he just kind of floated beyond the 3-point line. And every time he caught the ball and somebody closed down on him, he wasn't looking to attack that closeout if he didn't shoot the threes. So I think getting back to doing more of that will make it so that he can play next to, Brogdon and succeed next to a guy like Brogdon and Ant on the floor at maybe the same time, Scoot too. He just has to rededicate himself, it seems, to being an off-ball scorer, not just a guy who needs the ball in his hands to have offensive nights like he did the past couple of nights.
Yeah, I completely agree. He needs to figure out what's going wrong when he is playing the small forward and you have 2 guys handling the ball, because he does need to find a way to be impactful, whether that's, moving a little better, getting to the right spots to where you mentioned this already, the scoot kick out passes to no one today. Those ones, maybe if you relocate to the corner or something on those, you get a good look. But yeah, the cutting, because we all know how much attention that'll draw. Because no one wants to give him lob dunks and no one wants to get dunked on.
Yeah. So
just him running, it could just be a simple set running right down the baseline to the other side, 1 or 2 times a possession can make the defense have to turn around and account for him for a split second, and that might lead to someone else being open. And yeah, I thought he cut a few times in the first half, and no one was really looking for him, or he got missed a few times. But yeah, I feel like the cutting by him particularly could be something that really gets him going, just by the gravity that cut entails. Because I don't know if teams are still, they're respecting him as a shooter, of course, but I think they respect him dunking a lot more.
Yeah, and it could be lack of confidence in his teammate to throw him the ball because you have a lack of chemistry because he hasn't played much next to these guys. It also could be, there was a comment in chat, lack of spacing. Our spacing, I don't think, is going to be good this year, especially if we play Robert Williams III next to DeAndre Ayton. And given how bad our defense looked, I have a feeling Chauncey's going to want to try that big, that Twin Towers lineup, maybe a little bit more than he planned on. So that's two non-3-point shooting bigs. And I know Ayton in his pregame interview today said this offseason he just worked on a 3-ball, and I know some Blazer fans probably got excited at the thought of that. Well, he was literally saying the same exact thing two off seasons ago, where and this was Gabe telling me this, like 2 off seasons ago, apparently he was sitting there like, yeah, I worked on the 3-point shot all off season. It feels like a mid-range to me now, and then doesn't shoot the 3-ball. And when he does, like, doesn't shoot a great percentage. So we cannot put any stock into DeAndre Ayton talking about shooting more threes or saying he worked on shooting more threes until the results. Like, we have to put all the stock in the results, because he's said a bunch of things before regarding that, and the results haven't come. So if he starts shooting 3 a game and making 36% of them, then you can put stock in that. But anything prior to that, you can't buy into it. So spacing could be a problem. That also could be part of it. Like, there's just so much wrong with this team, and it's all kind of dysfunctional, that it's probably a little bit too harsh on Sharp to say, oh, he's floating and not cutting enough, because, I mean, I wouldn't blame him for not cutting, because he figured that whoever was trying to throw him the pass would turn it over, and he didn't want the team to turn it over. Like, that's how dysfunctional his offenses look this preseason.
Yeah. Regarding Aiden's comment about the 3-ball, does it concern you that that's pretty much all he said he wanted to work on? like
I mean,
no defense, no improving your passing out of the short roll when you're...
Yeah, that's harder to work on, I guess. On
I know,
your
it's
own.
just...
I mean, if he comes out here hitting threes at a decent clip, then I'm fine with it. If he's not a 3-point shooter this year, it's like, okay, so you just wasted a whole offseason then, you know? Like,
maybe.
Here's the thing. How many minutes did he play in preseason this year? Probably about 40, right?
If that, yeah.
Yeah, like 40 combined, I think, somewhere in there. He didn't shoot a single 3. Like, if you're worked on it all offseason, the time to try it is in the preseason. He didn't shoot a single 3 this preseason.
I wonder if Chauncey's given him the green light yet.
He did say that Chauncey will allow him to shoot 3s. So I don't even think it's a coaching thing. I don't know. Ayton's going to be a conundrum all season long, I feel like, where we're just, like, questioning some of the things he's saying, and I don't know. I'm so fascinated to watch the Ayton thing play out. I'm not necessarily expecting it to go bad yet. I think there is a couple of things that are little red flags, but maybe they don't mean anything. And it's just, it's going to be fun to see how it plays out, positive or negative, you know? It comes back to what happens when Robert Williams plays more than him. How does he handle that? I'm not sure. But go ahead.
Do you think he ducked getting booed tonight, or like?
No. So did you hear? So Gabe was saying, like, me and Gabe were talking last night, and he was like saying something about how it would show mental fortitude for Ayton to play in the preseason game tonight. I'm like, bro, it's preseason. He probably might get told to rest anyway because it's our final preseason game, and they might rest all their good players, which is basically what we did, other than Scoot and Sharp. So, you know, I don't think it's reflective of it, and I don't think Ayton was necessarily ducking it, because here's the thing. He's going to have to play him in the regular season, and it's going to be worse then. Like, if I was him, I'd want to get any boos out of the way now, right?
Yeah.
Before the regular season. So I don't think he ducked him. I think it was just, if he was the only guy out, then I'd be questioning it. But given the fact that they rested all their other good players, I don't think it's that.
Yeah. Why did they set everyone? I don't understand.
I don't know.
If the season started in like less than 5 days, I could maybe understand it, but it just seems weird with over a week off now.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect from this team. I just know that they can't turn over the ball as much as they're turning it over, and I know they can't foul as much as they're fouling. Like, fouling might be our biggest issue, man. Scoot in every preseason game had at least 4 fouls.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is fine because we got Brogdon off the bench, so if he gets in foul trouble, whatever, but the fouls, 28 fouls. The Suns shot 35 free throws, but in the first half, it was like 26 free throws. It's just kind of been a little bit of a theme. Fouls and turnovers. If you're constantly sending the other offense to the free throw line, and if you're constantly turning over the ball, you basically have no chance of winning games. It's almost impossible to win games if you're turning over the ball as much as they've been turning it over and fouling as much as they've been.
How many in the first quarter? Like 9 or something?
Turnover-wise? Yeah, it was like 17 in the first half.
Yeah, so bad.
Like at halftime, the Suns were on pace to shoot 52 free throws, and the Blazers were on pace to have 34 turnovers.
That's not a good combo, Tori.
No, not a good combo. Not a good combo. So, I mean, they know what they need to work on, right? I guess that's the positive over the next 9 days.
Yeah. I loved how Chauncey was running his 2-3 zone in the first half, too. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, I mentioned it a couple times.
I guess like KD and Beal.
Yeah,
Booker.
it was like, oh,
Booker's
they're in a
like
zone
cooking.
that gets picked apart every time. Oh, look, Grayson Allen wide open 3. Why are we working on something that'll never work? Is kind of my feeling on it.
I thought, yeah, so the first possession, somehow they give up a wide open corner 3, which the Suns miss. But they, I thought they played okay defense the next, like, few minutes. Booker hit some crazy, like, threes in transition. One open one, and then he was hitting, like, running ones, and he got fouled, or thought he got fouled on one and threw one up and made it. So, like, I don't think it was, I don't think, like, most of those possessions were terrible on defense, but then there was still like 4 minutes left in the quarter, and I'm like, oh, great. And by the end of the quarter, they're almost near 40 points. And it's like, okay, maybe we aren't playing that good a defense.
Well, here's the thing. The first half, the last 3 games, we've given up 76, 75, and 76 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's pretty dang consistent.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I'm curious to see how much, like, Robert Williams III changes the complexion of our defense. And, like, there's positive moments from some guys, man. It's just, we're just a step and a half slow. And it's the same problem we've always had. We just recognize things too slowly. We aren't in the right position. Our team defense is bad. It's not like we're staunch at the point of attack where we're not getting beat off the dribble. And then we're fouling a lot around the rim. It's just like every little thing that we could struggle with defensively, I feel like we struggle with. When healthy, the only area we're strong in is rim protection. But if you got guys driving at you all game, you're going to get in foul trouble. It's more likely to get in foul trouble. And still, like, when you get beat off the dribble, you force a help. Even if it's a good rim protector where the guy driving doesn't get a shot up, he has to rotate towards the ball. So then you make the next pass and the defense gets caught in rotation. The problem is we are just really slow rotating, and sometimes we don't even recognize where we're supposed to rotate. So even though we have good rim protection, just the ability for other teams to dribble, penetrate, and get us caught in rotations and then get open shots or easy looks out of it, whether it's a drive after a kick out, whether it's a kick out for 3, whatever. That's how teams get open shots against us, is just by beating us at the point of attack, and then we get stuck in rotations and we can't rotate. We suck. We just frankly suck at it.
I mean, that's been a theme for several years. Like,
Exactly.
We're hoping Chauncey would fix that, but he has not.
Like, I'm trying not to be too hard on a young team for that, right? It's just like, it doesn't matter who we have. That's been the thing in the last 3-4 years.
Well, it's not, to me, it's, you make mistakes if you're young, fine. But it's like the standing around and not flying around in the rotations. Like, you should be out of rotation because you're like over pursuing or like you're running to a spot and you close out too hard or something, you know, and that causes a breakdown in the defense. But it's like, it's not that. We're just like they make 2 passes and our defense is all out of whack and no one knows where they're going, and we get multiple 3-second defensive technicals because people are just standing around in the paint. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I don't know, it just, young or not, those are signs, and it's happened now for 3 straight years under Billups and multiple years before that under Chauncey. And you can't say personnel anymore because we have Anthony's the only one who's been here longer than 2 years, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like a whole new roster. So like, yeah, it's like at some point you have to start realizing that the coaching just is not doing a good job of getting them where they're going. And I look at like Diagonal in OKC and some of these other teams that like they didn't have Chet last year. They didn't have like any rim protection, and their defense was decent. Year before that, they were a really bad team, really young team, and they were, I think, hovering around 10th most of the season in defensive rating. So like, I don't know, like to me, if you have a good coach with good schemes and who can actually coach your team, like you can get a decent enough defense just by effort and having guys be in the right spots and stuff. And I don't feel like when I watch this team, they're being coached very well.
Yeah. A little side note, there's a comment saying that there's like fake Blazers Uprise accounts going around on Facebook trying to advertise streaming sites. Yeah, that is definitely not us. We don't use Facebook with Blazers Uprise. Yeah, if you see something like that, email me a link or DM it to me on Twitter so I can try and crack down on that, I guess. I didn't even know that was a problem. Thank you to Madden Mobile for bringing that to my attention. Yeah, just anything on Facebook, do not trust. And if there's something weird that seems like it's coming from us and it's questionable, just reach out to our Twitter accounts or reach out to us on Discord, tag us on Discord. Like, there's multiple ways to verify with us if something is from us. So I guess we're in the point, Eric, where we deal with fake Blazers Uprise accounts trying to scam people. So yeah, always let us know and always check with us if something like that seems fishy. Anyway, it's not a Blazers Uprise account. It's random bot accounts replying to comments on the Portland Trail Blazers advertising streams to games. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Okay, just send me proof. But yeah, if anything, if there's anything like that, check with us. As far as flying around, who do you think is flying around the most? Because I have an answer in mind, but I feel like maybe I'm just being a little biased, I don't know.
I mean, it's Kamara.
Yeah. See, like, that's what I feel. And there was that Twitter thread about him flying around with, like, clips, and yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's who I was going to say. I just didn't want to feel like I was being biased because I love Kamara.
I feel like, I mean, you're not going to like this answer, but I do feel like Chris Murray was playing hard on defense today too. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I thought. I mean, he got in the passing lanes a few times tonight. Yeah, you know who else he didn't play tonight, but I've been really impressed. Like I wasn't able to watch the game live on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. I went back and watched, and I really like the way Anthony's playing off ball and on ball. Like I feel like he's set to take a huge jump on defense this year.
Like, there's a chance that Anthony Simons is better defensively than Scoot Henderson this year. There's a legitimate chance of that, which I feel like people aren't giving Ant much of a chance, but
a legitimate chance. I think that's almost 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be,
Scoot's gonna, like, we already see what's gonna happen with Scoot. He tends to get a little over aggressive on his positioning, and it's gonna lead to all kinds of foul trouble. And like, just imagine when he plays someone like Harden or Austin Reeves, or like there's players that'll just foul bait him the whole time. So that's going to happen a lot this season, in my opinion. And it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not. I'm not saying like Scoot sucks. He can't play defense or anything. It's just like I think he's just going to get in trouble for being a little too physical. And I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that. He'll have to learn how to position himself a little better.
He also has to get through screens better because he is dying on screens. He is absolutely dying on screens. He is dying on screens exactly the same way Damian Lillard dies on screens. Right. Which kind of sucks. But, I mean, hopefully he can pick that up faster than Dame did, because that has always been a problem. Like, that's the thing. If you're overzealous and getting into foul trouble as a point guard, then you can't get through pick and rolls. There's no way you're not a bad defender, because what do elite guards do? They run a lot of pick and rolls, and they will foul bait.
Mm-hmm.
So both of those will play to Scoot's detriment until he kind of learns how to. We'll just see how fast he makes progress in terms of like being able to play some physical defense without fouling, because that is his archetype of defender. He's a strong dude, so he has to try and figure out where that edge is and how to push that edge without crossing it. And then also learn the tricks that these elite guards do to try and get over-aggressive defenders into foul trouble, and then figure out how to recognize that quick enough where he can adjust and not pick up fouls when guards try and foul bait. So there is a bit of a learning curve here defensively. That's why, like, all the comments like, oh, he's going to be better than Dame defensively year one, like he's an upgrade defensively over Dame. There's a lot of people that say that stuff. I mean, Dame has over a decade of experience playing against these guys, and even though he's not a good defender by any means, he knows what elite guards are looking for, and he knows how they play, right? And having that sort of experience does help, and Scoot doesn't have that experience yet, because, you know, it's the whole thing about playing at the G League level, preparing him for the NBA level. Guards at the NBA level, James Harden, Trae Young, Steph Curry, they are much, much different than freaking Antonio Blakeney or whatever guard is in the G League right now, you know? Skylar Mays. Like, there's a huge gap there. So, you know, there's going to be a growth curve there. I'm not disappointed with Scoot. Like, there's really nothing that I'd be disappointed in. It's just, tonight it was very obvious what the growing pains will be.
Yeah, I also didn't, when he can't get through screens, the problem is he was having to switch a lot. And so tonight it wasn't a huge deal because it was like Drew Eubanks or someone like trying to post him up. So you can maybe get away with that a little bit. But against like good teams, yeah, there's no way we can have Scoot like trying to guard post in the post, especially considering his proneness to fouls. Like, that's going to make it even worse.
Yeah, 100%. So
I do want to say something generically about the defense. Now there's the same sort of thing. The messaging is that their defense is going to look worse than last year or the last couple of years. Like, first of all, how is that even possible? Like, really? And second of all, like, why? Like, some of these same people blame Nurk for our defensive problems for years. We get Ayton, who all those same people wanted, right, for Nurk this whole time. And now we get a player like Robert Williams. We have Thibault for a full season. Everyone believes Grant's an above-average defender. Mm-hmm. And we have Brogdon, who's a solid defender off the bench. How is that a worse defense than we've had in the past 2 years? Like, how are people setting those expectations now? Like, I don't understand that part of it.
Can we even be worse than we were the last 2 years?
That's what I'm saying. How does that even work? Like, you bring in all these defensive minded players. Chauncey has his guys, but we're supposed to give him time to not have a worse defense. Like, it's it's really only two young guys in the rotation, right?
Yeah.
Scoot and Sharp.
Yeah.
And
it's not like
Scoot's replacing a bad defender anyway, right? So
yeah, exactly. And it's not like it's a Nick Nurse defensive system where you run multiple like full court press zones and have like 5 or 6 trapping schemes and all sorts of stuff that you have to learn schematically. Like, we are not that complicated defensively. Where there's
sure?
Yeah, what?
Chauncey constantly talks about how complex his systems are, and that
maybe it's complex. Okay, if it's complex, Eric, it's complex for him to teach, not complex for players to learn. That's the problem.
Yes.
So
he thinks it's complex when it's not. Yeah.
I was one of the last holdouts on Chauncey. People can't even say I was too negative or call me Mr. Negative because, dude, I felt like 95% of the fan base was blasting Chauncey last season, and I was sitting there like, I'm still gonna hold out on him and wait and see. Like, I'm still gonna give him more of a chance. And
yeah, we got into it a few times.
yeah,
that.
like I have been more than fair to Chauncey, more than fair. Like, I have tried to give him as much of a chance as possible because I truly think he hasn't been dealt the best hand in terms of Dame. His rookie season as coach was hurt, and then last year, like, wasn't the best defensive roster, and didn't have a great bench. The backup center was Eubanks. Like, there was
we give up on the season.
Yeah, we give up on the season. So given his hand he was dealt, like, I that's why I've given him more of a chance than the majority of the fan base. But man, the most important thing is development. I had a little bit of this worry before the preseason, and maybe I'm overreacting to preseason, but I am a bit worried about if Chauncey is the right coach to develop these players, and I'm worried if he's not, that we are going to hold on to him too long, and it's going to hurt the future of this team, because, man, you got to start instilling the right defensive fundamentals, principles, mindset in these young guys as soon as possible. Like, they should know no other way. They should only know the right way, right? You can't let these guys get bad habits at the NBA level. But man, every team under him has had bad habits defensively. Like, that's the thing with this 8-man rotation starting off. Like, it should not be worse. It should be better defensively than it was last season. And if it's not, you gotta really question Chauncey. And people's, you could maybe defend him with, well, look at the team, look at the roster, look how young they are, this and that. But at this point, it's a pattern. It's a pattern that spans multiple iterations of rosters. And at that point, you have to hold the coach accountable, man. Like, you got to get these guys ready to play, ready to defend. And 3 games in a row, the 3 NBA teams we've played this year, we've given up at least 75 points in the first half. Like, that is, you can't really do any worse than that.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Adam Smith says it's the top 5 youngest roster. So, okay, I'll push back a little bit against that, because how old is Brogdon? Like 30?
Yeah.
And Jeremy Grant's almost 30, like 29 or so.
Mm-hmm. Ayton's 25.
Yeah, and like Ayton.
Thybulle's there.
Ayton, Thybulle, and Ant, and Robert Williams all are still in their mid-20s, but they're all now like vets. Like, they've all been playing at least 5 years, right? So, that's most of our rotation right there. So, like, outside of Scoot and Sharp and maybe the backup power forward, that's pretty much it, right? I'm not missing anyone.
Yeah.
So, like, Jabari, Chris Murray, Tamani Kamara, whoever wins the backup 4 minutes, like, short of injuries, our rotation is not young. It's not at all. Like, it's all guys who should know what they're doing in the NBA outside of Scoot and Sharp. And if you can't have a decent defense, at least, like, the bar's so low on defense, it's not like it's that hard to be better than last year. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. There's just something wrong if 6 out of your 8 rotation guys are decent defenders who are all, 5-year plus vets
on their second contracts at least.
Yeah, that can't play defense together. I don't know. Like, I don't like hearing the young excuse for the defense this year if that's the case. Now, if Robert Williams doesn't play or whatever, and of course we haven't seen him play, so he could come in and help a ton on defense, and make someone like Thybulle a lot better defender just because he has someone to cover for him gambling so much. But, like, I don't understand how the narrative has switched so fast from, oh, this is exciting and we got all these young pieces and we're going to play this awesome style, to, oh, we're so young, like, it's going to take a while to learn how to play that way or whatever. Like, is it really that hard to play fast? And like, if you have a young team, shouldn't all that stuff be showing itself on the court? I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see once the season starts. I guess it's just not promising in that regard, given the preseason. Like what we have to go off of is not been good. Like this preseason was a giant struggle. Let me thank a couple donations. Shot Braden Tennis $5 donation says, "What's y'all guess for our record for first 5 games?" And sending love and prayers for Eric and his family. Thank you guys as always. Thank you, Braden. Appreciate you, bro. I'll say 2 and 3 to be positive.
Okay, we play the Clippers, the Magic, and then who's...
We win one of those games, probably the Magic. I think at home, we'll be up for that game, and then we win one of the next 3. It's like Toronto, Philly, and someone else. It's an early East Coast trip.
Yeah. I'll say 1 and 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my head says, but I'll just say 2 and 3. Let's just go 2 and 3. If we're 3 and 2, I will be surprised if we are above 500. Oh, the other team we play is Detroit. So, I think we can win 2 of those 5. Orlando, Detroit, Toronto, Philly, who knows with the Harden situation. LA, who knows if it's the first game of the season, so Kawhi and Paul George will probably play. We'll probably lose that game, but yeah. And then the other donation, Carter Dick with a $5 donation says, "Random question, would you rather build around Scoot or Chet? Also, Eric, love the poster." He loves the Pokemon poster. Eric, who would you rather build around?
I mean, that's tough. If I'm starting a team from scratch, I'm building around Scoot. Because I still believe he has star upside. If I'm building a team around what the Blazers already had going into this summer, I think Chet would have been perfect for that roster with Dame and stuff. And even trading Dame, I think Chet would be perfect with an Anthony Sharp iteration as well. So I'd probably I don't know. It's close, but I don't have a problem either way. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm taking Chet. And I am a Chet fan, but I think Chet is in a way the next Anthony Davis, with more of a 3-point shot and a little taller, a little lengthier. Hopefully he's not as injury prone as AD, but I also don't know if he'll put on as much muscle as AD did from his rookie year to where he's at now. But just that defensive big man, Chet's more unique. If you're in the West, you're going to need someone to guard Victor Wembanyama, and I mean, Chet's probably going to be the best option to guard him. Maybe an Alex Sarr once he gets into the league. That's why I wouldn't mind, getting him in the draft, because at some point, if we're going to be good at the time when Wembanyama is probably a top 3 player in the league, we're going to need someone to guard him. So getting that big mobile, guy that has some offensive skill is very crucial, and I think it's something that this team could really use. As
Sven points out, easier to find a point guard than a 7-foot unicorn. Yeah, there's at least 20 good to decent point guards in the NBA right now that you feel comfortable as your starting point guard, and
we got 3 good point guards right now.
There's not that many Chets around. Yeah.
Gray says the Blazers didn't really even play the starting lineup much at all during the preseason. We will be just fine. Watch. I'm looking forward. I like our bet right now, Gray. I like our bet right now, but this team has not shown good habits, man. And it's not like they aren't playing guys that are going to be in the lineup. Scoot's not going to hit the ground running. He's not going to hit the ground being an efficient 17-8, 17-9 guy. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but he's going to have turnover issues. And efficiency-wise, I don't expect him to be super efficient. He was not efficient in the G League last year. Now he's taking a step up there was times today he just kind of looked like he didn't really know what to do offensively, because he's someone like him. They're used to being able to blow by everyone in front of them and being able to use their body, use their strength, and just be like physically and athletically dominant and use that to get to their spots and make plays happen. And that's why when teams went under screens, he was fine, right? He would just drive into the space, athletic freak, like he would make things happen. He'll have games where he's like really good this year because of that, and that is a big strength of his, but there is an adjustment period where he needs to figure out how to pick his spots a little bit more, because like in this game, he did not look like he was confident in his ability to get into the paint and make things happen. And I never saw that once in the G League last year where he didn't seem confident in his ability to get into the paint. This game, there's a few plays where he drove. It just didn't look the same, and there's going to be an adjustment period there.
Well, I think he has an issue with his finishing touch. He tries to power it up, and he just throws it so hard off the backboard. Yep. He doesn't have a good feel yet for how to use spin or different angles off the glass in traffic. Dame had to learn that too. Mm-hmm. So it's not like a huge deal yet, but I don't know. It looked like really bad tonight. Just like he had no kind of just like ability to throw it softly off the glass, when you're taking contact and stuff like that. So yeah, that is one thing I think as he moves along, he definitely, especially if he's not going to be a good 3-point shooter, he's got to be an elite finisher at the rim. So I don't know if that's something like we talked about with Ant for years, is like, attacking the rim more instead of trying to, lay it up like away from, as your arm's going away from the basket. But yeah, he definitely has to work on that a lot. And it's not something that should look great like right away, but that is something that I definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah. And what have I said? I said people need to be patient with Scoot. People need to have patience with Scoot. Forget what Cronin said. Like, people need to be patient. And he's got a lot of things to learn. He also needs to improve his shot. He needs to improve his finishing. He needs to improve how he gets through screens. He needs to learn how NBA guards foul bait when he defends them. He needs to get chemistry with his teammates. There was a couple turnovers where it seemed like he just assumed someone was going to be in a certain spot and they weren't. There's just so many things to learn for Scoot, and that's why people need to have patience. But it's just like, oh, the next new thing, third pick, great prospect. Like, we haven't drafted a prospect like this since maybe Dame. Like, and they just expect him to come in and light the world on fire like Dame did his rookie year, and he's 19. Like, Dame at 19 wasn't even a dominant college player, let alone the NBA player he was his rookie year. Like, so that's the thing, is he's 19, so you got 7-8 years until he reaches his prime. Like, you got a lot of time for him to improve and become that star we all think he can be. But there is going to be a growth curve here, and he has to learn how to finish around NBA level bigs. It's not just about having the confidence to drive the paint. It's about knowing what to do when you do drive, like knowing how to finish, and knowing what angles you can get against the best rim protectors in the world, right? So Scoot will be fine. It's just, I think people with him and with Sharp were a little bit too high on them going into this year. And nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. Like, it's not guaranteed that Scoot's going to become a superstar. He has to put in a lot of work. I think he will, but it's really hard to become a superstar, man. There's so many things that he needs to improve at in order to get there that, as long as he puts his effort in, I'm cool with it. But it's going to take time.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm not concerned about with him is the effort. But, I mean, just think how much pressure that guy's under. I know he's had a good mindset about it. I'm Scoot Henderson, not Dame or whatever. I'm not trying to be Dame. I'm trying to be me type attitude. I think that's the right mentality to have. But he still is going to feel the pressure of Portland trading one of their all-time great players for him to start and be the guy moving forward. So it's just there is going to be comparisons, fair or not, his whole career, and he does pretty much have to become a star to live up to expectations eventually. So hopefully he can do that, and it'd be a shame if he isn't. But I mean, nothing's guaranteed. Like you said, it's still very early, and anything can happen. And there's been plenty of point guards that have been hyped coming out of college and who didn't end up doing a whole lot.
Do you think he has to change his shooting form or adjust it a bit?
I don't know if he has to change it a lot. Just it does. I don't know. If he feels comfortable with it, I wouldn't mess with it too much. But he does have that weird little hitch in it, where he just kind of like turns his arm over the ball a little bit.
Yeah, he pops his elbow out.
Yeah.
In order to get his hand through the ball, he also, dude, like he has no wrist bend at his set point. His wrist is like this at his set point. And it's not that, like, his form could use some improvement. Also, he needs to learn to shoot the ball on the way up more so than the way down. Because I know what coaches will teach you is, shoot at the top of your jump. Okay? You have more upward momentum when your feet leave the floor. Your upward momentum slows as you reach the peak of your jump, and then it turns into downward momentum, which speeds up until you hit the floor, right? So a lot of times when he shoots, it's like he doesn't feel like he gets much like wrist strength on his shot because his wrist is flat at his set point. And then there's times where on his pull-up, he's shooting on the way down. And it just feels like he's forcing the ball, like he physically is struggling to get the ball to the rim. And he's had some misses where he misses very, very short, even on mid-range shots. And that's the thing with his form, is like it's just not what it needs to be. And I don't know if he can become an above average NBA shooter with the way he shoots the ball right now.
I'm bored in here talking crap to you.
Yeah, I already removed his comment.
Yeah, I think Chad Coe's right in chat. I do think it's John Wall had that same problem. Yeah. I mean, he was okay as a shooter. I think John Wall had better shooting touch at Scoot's age, but yeah.
Shut the Vorna gotta stop, man.
All I know how to do is troll.
Yeah, that's all he does is troll. But,
nice.
Yeah. Anyway, Scoot, chat, give us your thoughts on Scoot, man. I don't know. There's gonna be growing pains. He'll have some good moments. He had that game where he dropped 22 earlier, hit a couple threes. It's just he's not ready to run an NBA team at a very high level yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about, I don't know, like, let's run through some players here. I got about 20 minutes left before I got to attend to some things. Eric, Chris, let's talk about our other first round selection. Okay, let's talk about Chris Murray. If he was knocking down threes, he'd be fine right now. But in preseason, he has not shot the ball well. I believe he was 1 for 16 in preseason from three.
It was 0 for 8 tonight, I think.
Yeah. Are you worried
but he was
about a
4
shot
for
ball?
5 or 6 or something from 2.
Yeah, he finished around the rim and like got some rebounds, just being in the right spot. You know, little things, but I think the biggest thing for him is being able to knock down threes, and just has not looked good in preseason in that regard.
I think he should only shoot threes right now from the corners. I think he should just become a corner 3-point shooter. I think his form gets a little it comes apart a little bit from the top. You were mentioning the longer three last post game. I think the top of the key is I don't know. He's just like struggling to get the ball with his normal form to the basket consistently. So I'd stick to shooting corner threes or not at all. But I know he had bad misses from the corners, but I'm just saying, I think if he just focused on that aspect of shooting threes, I think he could become a good corner shooter. He does have a pretty quick release. I think he's taken some bad threes too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, like, because it's weird because he's trying to play like his brother, and I don't know if that's exactly the same type of game he'll have in the NBA. But you definitely see like why he's shooting a bunch of threes. It's just like, yeah, at some point you gotta make some.
My question is, what is his role on a good team? Like, what role does he fill?
Well, I mean, if he can somewhat hit a three outside of as bad as he is a good rebounder. He played fairly decent defense tonight. I thought he got the passing lanes really well. He's a smart defender. You always need some of those. He crashes the offensive rebounds really well. Today he was finishing pretty well. He hadn't finished great in the previous games, but I think he's one of those guys that does a little bit of everything and is a high IQ player. I don't know if he's ever going to be like an elite role player.
Is there a comp for him on a good team that plays regular rotation minutes that you like?
Nothing's coming to mind. I mean, I have to think about it for a little bit.
Yeah, kind of putting you on the spot.
I don't know if this is like a good player on a good team, but maybe like a Thaddeus Young type he could be eventually.
Yeah, that was like a legit off the dribble scorer though. Back when he played in Philly, and then developed into like a really good passing center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but he's kind of undersized. I don't know.
I just like Pat Connaughton. I don't think is a particularly good. It might be okay, like a forward version of Pat Connaughton, I guess, but I don't know. I just don't really know what his role is. Like his most clear-cut role hypothetically is as a shooter. I don't know about that jump shot, man. He was 1 for 14, by the way, not 1 for 16, so I did make it sound a little bit worse than it was. But yeah, to me, it's like he has to knock down threes, so he has a role as like a spacer, and then all the little things is like cool. It's just he needs something that he does legitimately well.
Mm-hmm. I got one.
Yeah.
Celtics Marcus Morris.
I guess
you don't like that.
I'm just thinking back, man, because I don't know. I don't know if I have the confidence in Chris Murray to become as good of just a well-rounded scorer as Celtics Marcus Morris was, because he could really score the ball. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad comp. I mean, it was per 36. It was like 18-19 a game. So, yeah, I think that's a decent comp. I see guys that, you know, in hindsight bias is 2020, but it's like Strother, how he's played for Denver in preseason. He's playing like about 22 minutes a game, and he's averaging 20 points per game, and he's 12 for 24 from 3, 50%. And it's like, I knew he was going to be a guy that would come into the league and be a good NBA three-point shooter. Like, there was no doubt about that. He was that type of shooter in college, on some deep looks, off the dribble looks, all sorts of different types of looks, movement threes, like every type of three, and he shot a really good percentage on him. Shot a better percentage on Chris Murray on kind of a similar shot diet. like Strother had much more confidence in him coming into the league and being a good shooter, and then also run off the 3-point line. Like, okay, he'll drive and knock down a floater or knock down a pull-up mid-range, and it's like
guard versus forward though.
He's a 2-3 versus a 3-4, I guess, but it's like the bigger point is Strother. It was like easy to see what his role would be coming to the league. Like, he'll come in the league, he'll be a shooter, and then when he's ran off the line, he can drive, knock down a floater, and you know what you're going to get from him. With like Chris Murray, for an NBA ready role player, like, I wanted to have more confidence in what his specific role would be than I do.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot over the last week, because I was trying to explain to someone why Kamara looks good despite not being hyped as other people. And what I came up with was this, and Chris kind of fits both of these things. So, because he has played with Keegan most of his career, but all last year, Chris was like the guy for Iowa. And now you're having to come in and go back to being a role player. And some players struggle with that. And like Jabari Walker, like his whole life has probably been the best player on the team, was the best player on Colorado, and now it's like fighting to be the ninth man in a rotation in the NBA, right? Whereas Kamara, like the way he plays, that's just like how he's played on every team he played on, including Dayton last year. So he doesn't have to like fit in or change his game going from like a star to like this bit role player who has to like not take shots from the stars and all this kind of stuff, because like that's just how Kamara plays. So he just comes in and plays, like Tamani Kamara, whereas like Jabari and Chris have to go from the whole offense flowing through them and them getting as many shots as they want to get, 20 shots a game, and trying to then just like every time you get the ball having to do something different than you did in college. So yeah, I don't know. I think some of these guys, it's just sometimes they never figure it out. I think both Chris and Jabari have the right mindset when it comes to that. I felt like Jabari played pretty good in the first half of this game. But yeah, it's I don't know. Sometimes players don't ever figure that out, and it looks bad.
Yeah, and I saw somebody say, "Oh, his comp is obviously Keegan Murray." Keegan, his final year in college, shot. Let me do the math here. Over 6 percentage points better from three. Keegan did and they were used kind of the same way. He was also. I'm doing the math on this right now. 241 divided by 412. They were pretty similar efficiency-wise inside the arc, but Keegan Murray, if he came in and was like a 33% three-point shooter his rookie year, probably wasn't going to be a good player if he shot that, right? But he came in and shot 41% from three. That's why he was good as a rookie, because he didn't really do much from two in 30 minutes a game, shot 3.5 2-pointers a game. Wasn't a guy that got to the line. Wasn't a guy that was making plays for others. Like, played some solid defense, but the thing is he was like solid 3-and-D, right? Like, he knocked down threes at 41% at a forward spot. That's really dang good. If Chris was able to shoot 41% from three his rookie year, like, I think he already would have been the backup power forward and he would have gotten drafted higher. That's the thing with Chris, and that's what I come back to, is he has to make threes. Mm-hmm. He just straight up simply has to make threes. And like Keegan's 3-point percentage improved a couple percentage points from college to the NBA because he got easier shots in the NBA than he did in college. But, he was a 39.5%er in college. Chris Murray was a 33.5%er last year in college. So that's the thing is if Chris can knock down threes, he can be a role player in the NBA. I don't know how good of a 3-point shooter he is, and the early returns in preseason, it's just preseason, just a few games, but the early returns have not been good. And if you're drafting a guy that needs to hit threes, maybe it made more sense to go with a guy that you knew would come in and hit threes, like a Julian Strother.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Keegan set the record for 3-pointers of the season. It's not, and I think just because he's his brother, he's getting unfairly compared to having to be close to that.
Whereas Chris set the record for most. Oh, Keegan. Oh, as a rookie. Yeah.
Keegan as a rookie set the record for most threes by a rookie. But I mean, there aren't a ton of rookies that come in and shoot the lights out right away. I mean, it's still a small sample size preseason for these guys. So I don't know if you can say anything about that yet. But yeah, I don't know. He has to hit threes. You're right. Like that's if he's going to stick around in the NBA and be a rotation player, he has to be at least in the upper 30s, like at least 37% from three, if not higher. And if he's not, I don't think he's going to be around much longer than his first contract.
The thing is with Toumani in comparison, like I don't think Toumani has to hit threes as much as Chris Murray does because of the other parts of his game, because he's a better athlete, because I think he projects as having more defensive upside, because he's a guy that I think will be a little better as a lane filler in the open court. Like Chris Murray does a lot of little things. I just think Toumani Camara does a little bit more. So a little more versatile, a little less reliant upon that. I think it will still be important for Toumani and Jabari and a lot of role players in the league to hit threes, but yeah, so that's the thing with Chris is like it's a little disappointing how he shot, but hopefully he won't have to force as many looks once we get into the regular season if he plays. So
I do think people are, because of the poor shooting, are unfairly saying he's like a bum, and like I feel like he's done some things well, almost as good as Kamara in some aspects. Not quite the aggressive hounder on defense. Doesn't have like the fancy blocks Kamara has either, but I think he's played really sound defense and has been a positive on that end.
Yeah. There's a comment, if Chris can model his game like Jaime Jaquez, he could have a chance if he can't knock down the three-point shot. Jaquez is a better athlete and is a little bit more agile, better footwork, like a little more crafty on the offensive end. But I wasn't even sold on Jaquez either. I thought the Heat reached for him. I think they'll be able to turn him into a good player, like some of this is situation. But I wasn't sold on either guy, to be honest. So, what'd you think of Jabari tonight?
I thought he was fine. I don't remember him doing much in the second half, but I thought in the first half he had some nice moments.
He's finishing well around the rim, finishing a little better. Was 5 for 7 from the field in 16 minutes. Had 9 boards. Like Jabari, I think the two most positive performers from preseason, number 1 is Toumani and number 2 is Jabari.
Yeah.
And compared to expectations, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, like rebounding, we knew it. I think he just looks a little springier, a little bit more athletic, a little quicker. And he said he improved his body, which, Eric, I talked about this on last stream. The whole body fat percentage thing, you know, how he had one of the highest body fat percentages at the draft combine when he came in. And I said that isn't necessarily a negative. It might be a positive because there's more room for growth with his body.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I do remember one play in the first half. There was a corner 3 missed, and he had a nice rebound and muscled up in traffic and finished. There was that weird play where in the first half where Scoot went to like double team Booker, but it was like way late. Reminded me of a Terry Stotts double team, and Jabari smartly like read the passing lanes on that and got a steal and finished against a defender on the break. Yeah, so he had a nice cut. I think Kamara found him on a cut in the first half. Had a nice little floater off of it. Yeah, I've been fine with the way Jabari's played. Last game he missed some threes, including a couple of air balls, but I mean he's another guy. If he can consistently make a three, I think he does enough things positive on the court to warrant at least possibly being in the rotation.
Yeah, and Jabari in preseason went 2 for 8 from 3. So 25%, not good, but it's better than 1 for 14, I guess.
I mean, you make 3 of 8 and what, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. It's strange having as much confidence in Kamara's shot as Chris Murray's and Jabari Walker's. Obviously, small sample size, but Kamara was looked at entering the league not as much of a shooter as Jabari or Chris Murray was. Mm-hmm. But Tamani has shot the ball well. You know, it's in 2 games, 2 of the 4. Like, he barely played against Phoenix, and then I saw a couple questions. Why did he barely play tonight? He was in foul trouble, so he barely played tonight. But the 2 games where he got some burn, first game and third game, Tamani shot the ball well. So,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he shot a lot of threes in college, so that number's maybe a little misleading. But yeah, I mean, it looks nice. His form looks decent.
He gets under the ball.
Yeah.
He shoots the ball more effortlessly from 3 than like Chris Murray does. Which, that's the thing, is Chris might be a better shooter from college 3-point line. Tamani might be a better shooter from NBA 3-point line.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like, I think we're seeing with Scoot too, is like some of these guys just from that range, it's the way they shoot the ball, it's hard to extend that range out that deep. But Kamara shoots when he's leaving the floor. He gets under the ball pretty well. Good wrist bend. So it's a little bit more effortless for him shooting from that range.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Man, I really like Kamara.
Yeah, I love Kamara. So, you know, I think he's going to play game 1. We'll see. Shout out Greg Hughes Investigates. $10 donation says, yo, don't forget to send in super chats, people. Just turned 58 today. Last time I played hoops was 20 years ago. Looking forward to the season. Boom. Happy birthday, Gray. Thank you for the donation.
Happy birthday, man.
Appreciate you as always. Thank you for campaigning for us. Always means a lot. And shout out to Liam Best with a $2 Australian donation. Says, if only we could trade up for Cam, I'd be ecstatic. Yeah, imagine if we had Cam Whitmore instead with our later first-round pick. Oh, do you see that poster dunk he had today? That was a charge, but it was just showcases athleticism, you know?
Not a freaking charge.
You what?
That was not a charge.
I didn't think so either.
He took off. There was so much space that he barely even touched the guy.
Yeah.
I hate that call.
Yeah, but at least it's not in favor of the offense because everything else is in favor of the offense. But
yeah,
it's like that's the one call where it's like takes away an exciting play that should stand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very frustrating. Yeah, but Whitmore, I think Whitmore is going to be good, man. Taylor Packer says, I feel like I'm going to be defending Ayton as hard as y'all defended Nurk over the years. I'm not excited for it. Yeah, I don't know if you should defend Ayton as hard as we defended Nurk, man. I don't know. Like, Ayton has to show that he's worth defending, I think. Like, I don't know what his mindset's going to be. I don't know how he's going to handle adversity. Like, I don't know what we're going to get out of Ayton from both the mentality standpoint and how he plays offensively and, like, the responsibility he has on the offensive end. With DeAndre Ayton, it's full wait-and-see mode.
Arrow asks, when are we going to trade Anthony? I don't think we're trading him, man.
We want to tank. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Taylor says he gets too much crap even already. I think you've been fair so far, Tori, but others not so much. I mean, yeah. Somebody's going to be the scapegoat. I don't know why he's getting a ton of hate already when he hasn't really played. I guess for his interview reaction to Phoenix, that's one thing. If it's Phoenix Suns fans, of course they're going to give him crap. So I don't know if it's Blazer fans you're seeing that from or what, or if you're just spending too much time on Reddit because, you know, Reddit is Reddit. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a wait and see mindset with Aiton. I've been very clear that I would not have traded for a max contract player with attitude problems because I feel like even if you get more than you've gotten out of than Phoenix got out of him, it's still questionable whether he's worth a max contract. And if he doesn't uh, change his attitude, or if it is a problem at some point, then you basically are paying a max contract for someone that you knew had these issues already. So like that's my only problem, but I do I so badly just want him to come in and be dominating and stuff, but I don't know, like his sensitivity in interviews and stuff.
Yeah, like, is that in his DNA? I don't think it's in his DNA.
Yeah, I don't know if he has the right like mentality to be a dominant player. I think he I hope he proves me wrong. I really do, but yeah, it's I think we're gonna have to just accept the good with the bad that comes with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just what he's been for years, so he can change the narrative. You know what I mean? The narrative is what the narrative is. It's based on what he's been. If he changes, then the narrative will change. It's that simple. I don't think the narrative, there's some things that people will say to trash talk him that isn't fair, but in general, I don't think the narrative is all that unfair towards him. There's been a bunch of moments where he's pouted, beefed with Book on the court, and didn't sub back into a game, had some plays where he just gave up, poor effort. Like, as much as people criticize Nurk for that, I think Aiton was worse in that regard, and this comes from watching a decent amount of Suns games because of Suns Valley podcast. So it wasn't like Aiton was the antidote for that. If he changes that, then he will get props for changing that, and that's within his power. But if he doesn't, man, he can't sit there and blame the situation. And that's the thing, is I don't want guys that need the perfect situation to be dogs. I want guys that are dogs that create the right situation, which means creating the right culture, right? Like, I need guys that take ownership over their situation for how they handle it, who handle adversity well, and uplift the locker room instead of needing to be lifted up by the locker room. And that was my whole thing with Aiton. He has a true opportunity, so we'll see if he takes it and runs with it and changes the narrative. If so, then great. It's probably ends up being a really good trade and great for him and great for us. But I can't sit here and confidently say that he will, because he has to change the status quo himself. That's it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I know he's a chill guy. Like, that's obvious. He's very chill. I just think it's tough to change the narrative on yourself if you're constantly just like avoiding questions, or like refusing to answer certain ones, or like being bristly about certain questions. I mean, you're going back to Phoenix, like, people are going to ask you about it, whether it's stupid questions or not. You just gotta give a cliche answer and stuff, and not just be like, I'm not talking about it, like that kind of attitude.
Yeah. And here's the thing for me, like, I don't expect him to be a big time upgrade over Nurk. That's the thing, is I feel like a lot of people out there, just like Taylor said in chat, think that he's a big time upgrade. Like, we made a big time upgrade at the 5 spot. Maybe if you're counting Robert Williams over Drew Eubanks, then yeah, we did make a big time upgrade at the 5 spot, but that's more because of the backup center than the starting center. And the problem is with Aiton, man, is like, on the surface, he looks like a big time upgrade. Like, the way he dunks a ball, he looks better than when Nurk, like, flips up a lane and it bounces all the way around the rim and goes in, right? And Aiton finishes more at the rim. But, it's like, he'll have a move where he could get to the rim and dunk, and instead he crosses over and shoots a fadeaway mid-range, and it doesn't go in, but it looks good. It's like, oh, wow, look at the way he crossed over, look at the way he shot that mid-range fadeaway. But I want a guy that tries to get to the rim, even if he doesn't finish as well at the rim like Nurkic does. The little things matter. If I don't think it's a big-time upgrade if you count the little things, because that's the thing, is Ayton isn't a big man who does the little things. He doesn't set great screens. He doesn't rebound at the level that Nurkic does. He's not a short roll passer. He's not a three-point shooter. Like, those are all areas where Nurk is much better than Ayton in. Like, the area that Ayton is better at Nurkic in is finishing around the rim, but there's a lot of times where he settles and doesn't try and get to the rim. And efficiency-wise, there was barely any difference between Nurk and Ayton last year. There was actually a point late in the season where Nurkic, just based on true shooting percentage, which I think is the best gauge for efficiency, was shooting a better efficiency than Ayton. Ayton finished at 61.7% true shooting. I believe Nurkic was at 59. So, there was a little bit of a gap there where Ayton gained, but man, if he's settling for a bunch of mid-range shots, floaters, that sort of thing, he's not going to be a super efficient center. So, Ayton is, I think, slightly better than Nurkic because he finishes better, because he's more athletic. He's a little bit better of a rim protector, a little bit better switched out. But there are areas where Nurkic is certainly better than him, and that's why I don't think that Ayton is some big-time massive upgrade over Nurk. I think he can be if he has the right mindset and we're able to get something out of him that Phoenix didn't, but that is what it's reliant upon. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Taylor, you're just hating on Nurk, man. You're just hating on Nurk. He wasn't that bad, man. He wasn't that bad. And here's the thing. If a center is less mobile, but he gets into the right spot earlier, does it make a difference on defense? I don't know. Why are we going in on Ayton? Because we are talking about Ayton. We're talking about preseason. Taylor, he wasn't quick. I never said he wasn't slow, but I think you're over-exaggerating it.
Yeah, just wait until Ayton is put in all the same positions that Nurk was put in and looks just as bad and just as slow.
Yeah. We put our center in tough-ass positions defensively. And here's the thing, Nurk is slow, but he recognizes things quickly defensively, and he gets into the right spot quicker than most bigs.
Did you watch any of Dame yesterday?
A little bit. Not much, though.
Brooke looked like he was going to be a problem defensively, and he was runner-up in the Defensive Player of the Year last year at times. So it's funny because, like, I've been saying this for years. You put Brooke Lopez on our team last year, and he looks just as bad as Nurk, in my opinion, right? Yeah. Because of how bad our scheme and our point of attack and our inability to keep any player in front of their man on the perimeter. Like our defense constantly puts the center in a position where he has to choose between two very bad options of not guarding a guy coming downhill down the lane, or staying or leaving his guy for an easy lob dunk because it's usually Anthony or Dame on the backside helping. And so I think if you put Nurk in a situation like Milwaukee's defense, I think he looks a lot better than he looked in Portland, and I think most centers would have looked bad on our team. So hopefully our defense has improved to the point where it's not putting as much pressure on Ayton, and that should be better for this team overall.
Yeah. Because here's the thing with, I'm having a conversation in chat. Like, in the preseason game we played Phoenix, where Ayton and Nurkic both played, there's multiple times where Nurk had to help across the paint, and he was already across the paint on the other side of the rim from where he was helping from before the offensive player was even going up. And there was a couple of layups that we missed where he didn't block the shot, and it was almost like oh, he should have maybe made that layup, but he bothered enough to force a miss. And I feel like that is just goes far more unnoticed than if you stuff a guy against the backboard as you fly across the paint at the last second. But it's the same play. It's forcing a miss. It's not letting him score. It's protecting the rim. And that's the thing with Nurk is a lot of times if you're just watching the ball when Nurk's playing defense, it seems like guys are just driving into Nurk, and Nurk is just kind of like standing there, like not moving, but Nurk is just kind of there. And he's not the greatest rim protector given his athletic gifts, so it doesn't seem like he's doing much. But if you pay attention, like, he anticipates really well, and that's the reason why he's already there. That's the reason why he's already crossed the paint before guys are going up. I'd rather have that than somebody like Eubanks last year, and we talked about this, where Eubanks would react later, so then he had more ground to make up, so then he'd have to make that up quickly, and then he would, and occasionally he'd get a block, occasionally he wouldn't, he'd get out of position, and we'd criticize him for recognizing it too slow and then chasing a block. But when he would get a block, it's like, oh, look at him fly across the paint. You know, it just looks different, so... Anyway. You know, final thoughts on Ayton before we get into the season. He has a great opportunity. He controls the narrative about him. Like, our narrative, what we say about him, is going to be based upon what he can control himself. So I think it'll always be fair to him. Because if he goes out there with the right mindset and takes the ball to the rim strong and dunks a lot and, you know, is in the right position defensively, like, we're going to sit here and praise him. We're going to sit here and say, good job. We're going to sit here and say, that was a good trade, which at the time, like, that's what I was saying too. Like, the Ayton part of that trade is a good risk to take. I like that part of the trade. Had no complaints whatsoever. You know, the contract isn't pretty, but no complaints. He controls the nerve about him. Plain simple, has a great opportunity. No excuses. So,
yeah, I agree.
Anyone else you want to talk about from this game or the previous game?
I do want to just mention that I kind of touched up on it earlier, but Shaedon Sharpe had some really nice reads with the ball passing today, and just wanted to mention that at some point in this,
4 assists. He's struggling shooting the three. I mean, the whole team is struggling shooting the three ball, man. Are we really going to be a bottom 10 shooting team? There's a chance. There's a chance. But in preseason, he was, let me do the math, 4 for 21 from 3. So that's basically like 18, 19%.
I mean, Anthony was cooking last game. He might have to proper whole team up.
Yeah, but like Sharp's going to shoot the 3 ball better than that. Inside the arc, he was 8 for 11 today and used some of his dribble penetration to set up guys. So like I think the dribble drive part of his game was really good today.
Yeah, he's looked much better last 2 games. Hopefully that's a good sign.
He does have to be better defensively, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Reith, what have your thoughts been on him?
I think he's got some ability to score on offense. I'm worried about what Taylor Packer was saying about Nurk. I feel like he's just a little too slow to be like an NBA caliber center.
And a little too small.
Yeah. So I think he's going to have a tough time once regular season games start. But, I mean, on a team that's not worried about their defense, I feel like he could be an okay scoring weapon off the bench. But
like a Maurice Spates type guy, maybe?
Yeah. But I don't... on this team that's so desperate to have defense, like it just seems like right guy, wrong time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Kevin Knox seems like he's completely out of the rotation, but he played 50 minutes tonight and had some good moments. It was 5 for 9 from the field, 1 for 3 from 35 boards. It's just,
you know what you're gonna get from him. Like, I'm not gonna be surprised if he makes the team, and has one of the final roster spots, but I don't expect him to be in the rotation at any point, short of injuries or tanking.
Yeah, 100%. And at the time we signed him, I said it was kind of a pointless signing. And, now it's like, and I said part of the reason was because we're probably going to bring in a forward or two that we want to play ahead of him in the Damian Lillard trade. And we didn't think that it would be Tamani Kamara. We thought it might be like Jovic and Hawkes, right? But it's Tamani Kamara right now. So, Kevin Knox is end of the roster type guy. If he was a rookie playing like this in the preseason, would be a lot more intriguing. But right now, it's maybe a little too late for him. I think he can stick on an end of a roster, and maybe if teams are hurt, he can fill a little bit of a scoring role. But yeah, not really much else on him. And then Skylar Mays, 5 for 7, finally had a decent preseason game. I felt like he kind of struggled, so good to see him play well.
Yeah, definitely think he's deserving of that two-way spot that he's on right now. Do you know anything? I know you got asked this last stream, but to not play 2 out of your 3 two-way guys the entire preseason, isn't that kind of weird?
What? Yeah, what the hell are we doing? Where is Baji and Butler? Apparently Butler's not even with the team.
Yeah, and Baji didn't play a single minute, right?
Have you seen Baji on the bench?
I have not. I haven't been looking that closely, but
I don't know. But we signed George Condon out of the blue, and he played tonight.
Yeah,
and he's another center. Like, we actually have a decent amount of, like, fringe roster centers. We got Butler, Butler's more of a forward, but, Condit, Ibu Baji, Moses Brown, Duop Reith. Like, we got a lot of these type of guys. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with our two-way spots. I don't know if we're going to keep either one of those guys even going into the season on two-way spots.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think, like, some of these guys that played, like Duop Reith, could be a guy that is on a two-way spot.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Rupert 1 for 6. He just Rupert, I think, is very simple, Eric.
So I'm at McDonald's.
ESPN
got to try.
McDonald's ad, go away. With Rupert, I think it's really simple. He underestimates how quick and athletic NBA players are. Because there's multiple times where he just got blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And he's tall and lengthy, and apparently he grew an inch, right? But there's times where he had a little bit too much confidence in going up the way he was going up around, like, athletic rim protectors. And that's something he'll learn. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, but that's what I was talking about earlier with, like, Kamara, is, like, he knows how to play the role he's expected to play because he's been doing it, whereas Rupert, like, he's been using that athleticism and length to finish around the rim for a couple of years now, and it's always been something he can just get. As long as he gets near the rim, he can use his long arms to finish, and that's not going to be the case in the NBA. So he's definitely going to have to learn how to be craftier.
I also think getting stronger will help him because I feel like when he drives and there's contact, he ends up going up too slow, and that's part of the reason he's getting blocked. Whereas if he was able to kind of like run and load up through the contact and go up off one foot with one hand, he would be able to get some of these layups off. And I think that's just adding upper body strength. Like, imagine Rupert if he had Giannis strength.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With, like, the way he moves, like, that's the optimistic dream. Is, like, he can just bulk up a ton and be, like, physically dominant from, like, a size, wingspan, strength, and then, like, fluidity, because he moves well. His footwork's decent. He changes direction decently. He's not slow. Like, it's basically like some Play-Doh, man. Like, fresh out of the thing of Play-Doh. No idea what it can become, but man, it's you can definitely mold a player out of him, in my opinion, in like 3 to 4 years. And I'm really curious to see what it is.
To be fair, Giannis had none of that strength his first 2 seasons either.
Yeah, and that was decent. He was a little bit bigger though, like Rupert's not gonna become an MVP.
Or if
I
he
mean,
keeps
maybe
growing.
he is. Maybe he's the next Jokic second rounder. If he keeps growing, yeah, maybe he's the next Jokic 7-footer. Who knows? But yeah, Repair just like if he is able, with the way he moves, he doesn't have a problem getting a step on guys. I think there's been multiple times where he's gotten a step on his defender and hasn't been able to finish, or hasn't known what to do. But the fact that he's able to handle the ball and get a step on a guy is really, really good. And something that I think you can work with. Just if he is able to bulk up and bump a guy and finish, then I think that would be beneficial and kind of help him when he gets a step on guy, being able to create some of that contact himself and handle it and finish and go up strong and go up quickly compared to getting knocked off balance and then having to jump off 2 feet and getting blocked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, anything else you want to talk about from this stream?
Truly Spencer PDX is asking what the topic for Hoops Crush is this week. We're going to be doing some season prediction type stuff.
Yeah, and then we'll have a season prediction type stream too, as well
Yep.
with our mods. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to your guys' episode. That'll be out Wednesday. And then 503 podcast tomorrow night late. They're going to record tomorrow night. 503 needed a new computer because his computer couldn't handle recording, basically. So he's getting a new one tomorrow, apparently, so that we can finally get out that 503 podcast, which I'm looking forward to. Might be out Wednesday morning, we'll see. But we got 9 days until our next game, Eric. I'm kind of used to the Blazers being back.
Yeah.
But now it's 9 whole days.
Well, in 9 days, they'll be back because we'll actually hopefully see the actual team and not all these guys who we're not going to have to see ever in a Blazer uniform.
Yep, 100%. And I still got a bunch of stuff I got to do, so am not complaining that it's 9 days because there's a lot to do to get ready for the season. Looking forward to it. We'll have you guys covered. Post-game show after every game. Watch parties and pre-game videos. I'll have some video content over the next 9 days as well. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you turn on channel notifications. Also join our Discord, link in the description box below. I tag everybody in there. There's game threads in there as well. So if you don't want to be on Reddit, Taylor, during games, you can be on our Discord.
Taylor wants to be on Reddit. He loves Reddit.
He loves himself some good old Reddit. Yeah, he's a spy. He's our spy. He goes over beyond enemy lines and yeah. Anyway, I'll try and get him off Reddit. We'll see. We'll see if that works because he was already complaining about the Ayton hate. Apparently they hate Ayton now. I don't get it. Anyway, I think that's it, Eric. Thank you for joining us and have a good rest of your Monday night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.